I have my last football question I want to circle back to. And none of these have been about football, really. They're all about people. But
circle back around, man. I can teach you cover 2 if you want to.
Yeah, if you'd find a slow learner. But yeah, so now I'm going to call you 30, right? At this for this question. And say that again?
I'm 33.
I know you are, but for the question, you're like back when you were 30, you're done playing football. You've had your injuries, your passion's gone. All you wanted to do was be at home reading a book. Well, now you can do that. How are you feeling? Are you almost wishing you could get back in the game? Like your identity had been football since I'm making this up, since you were 7, and now it's not. How's your new life as you first entered it?
So that was one thing I was always cognizant about, was not making my football my identity. I used to get mad. Like, even like, I know a lot of cats used to use their prestige to like get them into play. So when they talk to people, like, yeah, I play in the NFL or what. I was always the opposite of that. I used to tell people I play chess. Like, they would have to recognize me before I tell them, because it just wasn't a thing that I enjoyed to tout. And so when I left, it almost felt like I woke up from like a whirlwind, because the reason I played football in the first place was to get away from the trauma that I was growing up in. Mm-hmm. And that turned into, okay, this is an avenue to get me out of the circumstances I was born into. And so it was more like always a means to an end to me, rather than like, yo, I love this shit. I used to love the grind. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You're so good at it. Are you telling me it wasn't part of your sense of self-worth?
Oh, 1,000%. Definitely not my self-worth. It was more like, like I grew up in projects, so I grew up broke. I mean, we bounced around, but I grew up like extremely broke, like broke to the point of like, mom's was like, I remember vividly one time, like she said, like one time just put us to bed, and there was like there's no dinner, like there's no food here, like we have no food, like you guys go to bed. And like she's crying, telling us this, because imagine having to tell your child that you don't have anything to eat that night. Is tough. And so like that's the environment that I come from, and so my mindset growing up was like, yo, I'm gonna take care of moms, I'm gonna take care of dad, I'm gonna do this shit. And I did that shit, but it was never like I score touchdowns for a living. I was a philosophy major. So like those are the kinds of existential questions. Those are the kind of things that interest me or keep me up at night. Like, how do we get here? Why do we get here? The problem of evil, like these kind of things like keep me up at night. What I did for a living never really factored into who I was as a man. And I understand why people do that, right? Because it feels good, like that reverence feels good, that attention feels good, that making you feel like you're something feels good. I do understand why people do that. But for me, I never really craved the attention. I didn't like the attention for that. I much rather, like when people come up to me now and tell me they enjoy my podcast, or they tell me like, yo, when I listen to your music, like it resonates with me. Like that shit means always way more to me than somebody saying, I like the way you ran, like always. And so I was never tied up in that.
Why do you think that is? Because the way you ran is a rare skill too. For
sure. But I don't think I didn't personally place any value on it as far as outside of, I do now, actually. It's funny that this happened. I place value on it now because my evolution politically and my evolution socially has changed over time. And so what I value now is different than what I valued in the NFL. And it's quite the opposite. And I'm very aware of how our culture is interwoven with entertainment, and how I used to detest it, and now I kind of understand it in a different aspect, as where it's like escapism for people. So like for 3 hours of a Sunday, like I can take people's problems away from them, and they can focus on this and enjoy themselves. And that's very important to the zeitgeist of our culture and our community and our society. That relief or that reprieve of their pressures of their day-to-day life is important. That's why sports is missing so much now. and people are like yearning for that shit because it's like it helps just get that shit away. And so when I was in the league, I was like, yo, I'm just a distraction of people getting to themselves. But now as I'm a little older, I'm like, yo, I played a part in helping people detach.
Yeah, you realize like it served a really important purpose in a way.
Yeah.
Like, now you kind of see.
Yeah, I thought it was surface level, but I got a little older and realized it was very deeply rooted, actually.
Sports are great for that. Like I only really follow hockey, and so like I keep waiting for the fucking NHL to come back. But it is nice when you just have a really shitty day or you're stressed about something, and like for some reason it's easier to lose yourself in a hockey game than it is even to like turn on a TV show that I love, because it's like everything's going to be new. You know, like there are plays you're never going to have seen before out on the ice. Like it keeps you more engaged, and you feel like you have a dog in the hunt, even though you have fucking nothing to do with them. Yeah. I don't fucking know you contribute nothing to the team, but you still get to be like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, bragging rights. But I mean, it's you kind of share that plight. Like you can identify with that plight of that. That's why people love underdog sports stories. Like they love that. They love that plight that came from nothing, and it just gives you that little bit of motivation or inspiration and it helps people. It really does help people. Whereas when I was younger, I didn't understand that shit, and now I get it a little bit more.
How much attention do you pay to football now? Is it 0 or more than that?
It's not 0. You know, I'm always going to be involved in some capacity because I do love the sport. I wasn't just a journeyman. I didn't pass through. Like it was a big part of my life. But it's just not something that I fancy like a lot. It's like if it's a good game or if there's a player that I really want to watch, I'll watch the game. If there's a good game, I know it's a good game, it's going to come on, I'll watch it. Of course, I'll watch the playoffs or the Super Bowl. Something like that, but like it's not like I don't got the NFL ticket and I'm not like, you know what I mean? Like,